Israel in the Galilee. Oh, and today is, I think it's Tuesday. What are we on, the 9th of June? And it's about 7:20 in the morning. There is a cessation of hostilities between Iran and Israel, but to go ahead and call this a ceasefire is idiotic. And I'll explain why to you. After this thing which Trump brought about, which was idiotic, the Hezbollah, the Houthis fired a drone at Israel at around midnight. I think the Hezbollah did something too. I'll go through my notes. And the Houthis is a way for Iran to have Israel get attacked without being accused of breaking some ceasefire, which is not there. And after this so-called stopping of hostilities, the Iranians attacked a merchant marine vessel near Oman. There's videos of it being damaged. And the Houthis have closed the Red Sea, blocking any ship that has anything to do with Israel. Now, if a ship from, let's say, John Doe's Maritime Shipping Company ever had anything to do with Israel, and a ship from that company goes through the Red Sea, they'll attack it. So basically, they shut down practically all the shipping in the Red Sea, and Iran endorsed it. So do you want to call this a ceasefire? That's delusional. Trump's a little bit nuts at this point. Some people think he's not nuts, but I'll go through what I believe his plan is and show you what the flaws are. And he's still trying to get his hands on the Iranian oil. Don't kid yourself. I'll show you what Iran's latest demands are, which is sick. And you can see how stupid everything is. Okay, let me go into the live stream and make sure everything is nice. And put a quick post up and we'll get started. And I've got some really fascinating stuff to share with you on the ancient manuscripts of the Bible. And being able to access a lot of these, and I got my hands on Sweet, SWETE, Septuagint yesterday, and I made some Bible studies and prophecy for us today based on Sweet, Septuagint, which is a pretty scholarly work, and we'll discuss all that. But first, we'll go through the news, which isn't that exciting today, but we'll go through it so you know what's going on. So you're watching. Okay. I'm going to get a fast post up. And in the live stream, it's going to be fast. Okay. Oh, typo right away. Let's get rid of that typo. I lost what I just typed. It just, this piece of junk iPad just shifted me to another screen and I lost it. These iPads, man, I tell you. All right, I don't want to harp on that. Let me get it in again. Sorry about this. Junky things. They're good for some things and many things they're not good for. Many things. Okay, I got it up now. All right. Okay, that looks good. And let me shut the sound off. And being a Bible-believing site, Old and New Testament, I'm going to do some praise, and you can join in if you want. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay. The scholars like to call the name of Father God Jehovah. They like to call it a tetragram. I don't like that word. I mean, it's his name. You know, his damn name. I mean, it's just silly. Okay. Where am I? Not a lot of news, but there is. Oh, we got a prayer request. Let's take care of that. This is, I'll do the prayer and you can agree with it. This is for SK, Sierra Kilo, SK, Sierra Kilo. My Heavenly Father Jehovah, I pray for SK, a mourner's prayer, lost a close relative. I pray for comfort, calm, rest, peace, joy for SK in this very hard time. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with that if you're a believer, and it makes it more effective, I suppose. And there you go. That's my only prayer request today. That's the only one I got so far. Okay. Trump says he warned Netanyahu Israel could be left alone if it escalates Iran fight. Now, Joe Biden has said almost the same thing. You see, he's just another one of them. Oh, but nobody believes it. Some of you do. I know you do. He's just another one, or he wouldn't be there. Almost the exact words. Joe Biden said, I'm out. If Netanyahu attacks Iran, he said, I'm out. Same thing. Okay? What a con man. Netanyahu says the attacks on Iran are halted, using the words for now. Israel will strike Iran and Hezbollah if attacked again. Katz, the defense minister, says that Beirut, Lebanon, will be hit if the Hezbollah. What? Oh. It's going to be hit if the Hezbollah targets Israel again. Anywhere. Okay? So, this is all held together by spit and bubble gum. The schools are open again today. The airports are open. And the security cabinet met last night at 9 o'clock. So I bet they probably stayed there till midnight or something. But anyway, it's, Iran hit another ship. They're still doing their blockade of the Persian Gulf, and they escalated by having the Houthis close the Persian Gulf. So now you have about 1/3 of the world's oil not moving. The Iranians escalated. Trump is being dumb as a bag of hammers. He's just convincing Iran that he's a nothing to nothing, afraid of his own shadow, and isn't going to do any serious fighting. Trump on Israel's Channel 12 said, "I told Bibi to be very careful what he does, or he could soon find himself standing alone against Iran." A few weeks ago, they were talking about what a great ally Israel is. We're not a great ally to them. They use us like a dog. Great ally. He's going to take the money that Iran has frozen and distribute it to the Gulf states: Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Oman, Saudi Arabia, maybe Jordan, for them to repair the damage that Iran caused them. But not Israel. We're a piece of garbage to Trump and the whole American swing of presidents that came before him. And that's by analyzing their actions. If you want to start analyzing what comes out of their mouth, you're going to think America's a Zionist country. But it's the opposite. Vance on Fox News says, Trump believes we can achieve a long-term arrangement for Iran's nuclear deal. Israel may like it or may not like it. So there's a very arrogant comment that basically said, we're not consulting Israel on this. Get off of the America's an ally of Israel. America uses Israel. What are you doing? You know? I've lived here for many years. Many Israelis know this. My uncle came to Israel in the 70s and was talking to some Israeli soldiers in the 70s, and they told him that, we're your army, we're your army. Who came and made us give Gaza back but the Americans? Who came and made us give the Sinai Peninsula back but the Americans? An Iranian source told Al Jazeera, it's a Muslim newspaper, the U.S. made unacceptable changes to the draft memorandum of understanding. That means America didn't agree to the Iranian terms. Understand what that means, okay? no agreement can be reached if the frozen Iranian funds, which is about 100 billion, are not released and if the sanctions are not lifted. Basically, they want much of these demands met before they sit down and talk. What they're saying is if you don't do this, there'll never be a ceasefire or a deal, as Trump likes to call it. There'll never be a deal. So you may as well do it. And then they say, we want some of this done up front. And then they say, it's our money. We want our money back. Such nice people, you know. So in the Awad area, a drone from Yemen, the Houthis in Yemen, was intercepted. It was about midnight last night, so it came after the Iranians were telling Trump, "Oh no, we'll stop fighting." They got their head handed to them. Israel did some very serious strikes on their military capability, uh, and that's one of the big reasons why they stopped. They got hurt. Also, last night, if the drone from the Houthis isn't enough, Iran itself directly attacked the Kurds again in Iraq. So I pose to you, what in the world ceasefire are we talking about? You know, I mean, I don't know what ceasefire they're talking about. I mean, it's imaginary. Trump likes to walk in delusion land. Hezbollah and Iran were both attacking Israel. Iran was also attacking Arab countries: Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Saudi Arabia, okay, even Jordan, I believe. Or maybe not, but it looks like something happened to Jordan. Okay, we're attacking Arab countries. Iran was attacking the Arab states in the Gulf, and Iran was firing missiles at our armed forces in the bases in these Gulf states. And Israel was defending itself. And because Israel was defending itself with these idiots from Iran, Trump is saying that we endangered a deal. Trump works with fear and greed, but I do have something I want to tell you. Um, we were doing some SW, you know what that is, like tossed salad, SW, right? And right after we did the SW directed at Iran, they gave up the fight. Just another one of many coincidences, of course, if that's what you want to believe. I don't. They attacked the ship near Oman, and I think that they seized it, the Iranians. take it back, but I don't know how they couldn't have seized it because it got hit, it was on fire. So that's not good news reporting. You couldn't. I don't think they would transport a ship on fire back to Iran. I don't see that. Maybe they were putting the fire out. I don't know. The oil prices are around 91 on the American and 94 on the Brent, the European. They're still up there. They're not catastrophic. But that's not the real price people are paying. That's the price you're paying on paper for futures. The real price the people are paying are probably $10 to $20 or so over that figure. That's probably a pretty decent estimate as to what they're paying. Okay. Um, are you here? Oh, I guess she went out. Becca?
Yeah, I can.
Oh, who's outside, Mommy?
Mommy's outside. I'm getting ready to leave. I'm going to turn the air conditioning on for you.
Yeah, good. Thank you. So, how long is this ceasefire? Now, the other thing I need to tell you is Trump is ridiculing Netanyahu, and that's going to cost Netanyahu a lot of points in the polls, and we're headed for another election for Netanyahu. And he's so embarrassed he's not even addressing the Israeli public on this. Pride cometh before a fall, and Trump has so much pride. I don't know how you're going to find somebody that has more pride than him. I mean, wow, is he gone? All right, so guys, that's basically the news. What to expect? More flare ups. Um, if Iran doesn't get rid of the American blockade and the sanctions, it's going to be hurting for money. Trump says he's cut off 84% of Iran's money. Let's say 65% is probably more accurate, okay? Because of the way Trump is. So they're still getting money. They're sending trainloads of oil to China as much as they can. They're selling goods. They're getting goods out. Pakistan has 6 border crossings open for them. So I don't think they're getting oil out that way, but they're probably getting some oil out. I don't know. Well, the Americans say they got it closed. So it's a problem for Iran. But what if China loans them money or something? I don't know. I don't know. What Trump thinks is going to happen is they're going to run out of money, and then they're going to go make a deal with Trump. Never. That's not how these people operate. They're going to go on the aggression. They're already on the aggression. They made oh no, we'll stop attacking yesterday. Then a ship gets attacked. Then the Houthis shoot a missile at Israel, and the Houthis cross the Red Sea. So there was a massive escalation yesterday. They're playing Trump for a sucker. What are some of the things that they could do? Is number one, invade a country. Israel, forget about it, no. One of the billionaire dictatorships in the Persian Gulf that has a relatively worthless military that would probably just stand down. Kuwait is one possibility. UAE is another. What about American bases there? What about them? They got American soldiers there. What would they do with that? Take them hostage or return them. Return them means you're free to go. Leave the country. We'll provide transportation for you. Just go. Leave your weapons behind. Come out with your hands up. And you'll get medical, you'll get food, you'll get, perfect treatment, and just leave. Or they kill them. But Trump doesn't have enough military in these countries to hold up against Iran. Now, how would Iran get to them? That's $1 million question, isn't it? Iran doesn't have the ships, I don't believe, to cross the Persian Gulf. But they can come in by land through Kuwait. And they could knock off Kuwait easily. They would precede it probably with a massive amount of missiles, wear out the, swarm attack the defense systems in Kuwait. Start causing all kinds of damage in Kuwait. What would Trump do? Send 80 aircraft to go in there and bomb Iran? Nah. He'll tell Kuwait to suck it up. Is the what do they call him? The Emir of Kuwait, the dictator. Is he going to just, they would call him up on the phone and tell him to surrender? He'll call Trump up on the phone and say, "What are you doing? They want me to surrender. They're not going to stop. Are you going to defend us or not?" Trump might defend them. I'd go 30% on that. 70%, no, he won't. And Iran would attack the military of Kuwait, which is nothing. And their radar or wherever they got it, and then they would roll in with tanks and ground invasion, take over Kuwait, thinking America will do nothing about it. Then after Kuwait, they work their way through to get Qatar, Bahrain, and UAE. They just keep going until America stops them. And that reverses, a lot. Well, they still can't sell the oil because Trump will stop that. But they would be able to get a lot of wealth out of there. Okay. Basically, they know Trump has to do something, and they would try to bring Trump to a deal where Trump lifts the sanctions, gives them the $100 billion back, and they agree to enter into negotiations. They've threatened to do this to the UAE and the other countries, and they could do it. None of them have a military worth a hoot. None of them. I mean, Saudi Arabia maybe almost has a real military. Most of them have nothing to speak of. They're really set up with their military just to repel a revolution from inside the country. That's about all they can do. Um, that's it. Not much. If Trump helps them, now what if they ask Israel to help? Well, Israel's going to call Trump up and say, "What do you want me to do?" That's what will happen. Trump will likely say, "Let them take Kuwait. It doesn't matter. They can't do anything. They're still not going to have money." I mean, they could clean the bank vaults out in Kuwait, but that's not going to be much. Really, they get $1 billion, $2 billion. It's all paper money. They're not going to get that much. So, no, Trump still has the death grip on him, so he won't let go. Eventually, Iran is going to attack the American blockade. Okay. And they'll attack the American bases, and they'll attack the oil fields and the oil refineries of the Gulf states, and just do everything they can to get Trump to submit to them. And that's what they're up to. Okay, so I got Sweet, SWETE, Septuagint from what was it, Logos. I had to buy two different things. It was about $85 total. This is running up a little bit of a bill for me. And what Sweet Septuagint is pretty good. He has a flaw, and that's he doesn't use the holy names, Jehovah. Um, it's an Old Testament, so the word Yeshua wouldn't be in there. It's in there, but it's not used. To be the Messiah yet. It's concealed. But anyway, why didn't he use Jehovah? Is he trying to blot out the name of God? That was what I was trying to figure out. And the reason that he didn't do it was this. It's good and it's bad. I'll explain to you. The scraps of papyri and the pieces of some pieces are like this, some pieces are like this, like this, like that, of the Septuagint. There was many Septuagints running around. Scribes made them. It was the Greek version of the New Testament, of the Old Testament, done by the rabbis. It was made around 250 BC, 2.5 centuries before Yeshua came to Israel. Now, a lot of people like it when you say came to earth, but he came in Israel and he never left Israel till he went up to be with his father. Came to Israel. Another replacement theology terminology getting kicked over. Sacred cow getting kicked. Okay. So the things at the caves, Qumran and stuff like that, didn't happen yet. He was doing this around 1880 for Cambridge University. So he was meticulously clinging to the Codex Vaticanus, which is from around the year 300 AD. and there was no Catholic Church at this time. Okay? All right? Um, the next version of it after that was Codex Sinaiticus around 400 AD, but he used Vaticanus, the older one. And they didn't have these little remaining scraps yet. So he didn't put it in there. So I have to say what he was doing is he was using what the Greek used in the Septuagint that that he had access to, which they were inserting the word Kyrios, 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 whatever, for the name of God, Jehovah. And the Kyrios means Lord. Like what the King James does. You don't see the King James say Jehovah. They're blotting God's name out, aren't they? They know what it is. Yeah, well, a lot of you don't like it when I say that. You know, the NIV's doing it too, you know. But okay, let's move on. So later on, when these fragments started coming to surface, he saw these, but he didn't. You know, he made some notes and different writings after the fact, and he, I think, pointed this out. But so it does have a flaw there, but it's a flaw that's easily corrected. Okay. Now I wanted to know some answers to some questions that I had. Like, did the Septuagint say Krios or Jehovah? And the real answer to that, you know, drum roll, is it said Jehovah. The real old original Septuagints, where they didn't have an axe to grind because Yeshua had not yet come down to Israel, so they were, I love saying it that way, so they were using the what they refer to as the tetragram, the Hebrew. But in the latter days, hundreds of years later, they were using in the Latin version of the Old Testament. They were putting the word from the Latin in there. They weren't inserting the Hebrew name. They were putting the Latin word in there, Krios, Kyrios, transliterated into English. So, and that means Lord. That's what happened. Okay? So it doesn't mean that sweet is a piece of junk. It means this is what he had to deal with. Now we're going to take a deep dive into some other things that I'm going to be developing, and if it doesn't break my bank, I'll try to buy some of these too. And I have some translations today on important key prophetic scriptures that I did with sweet into English, and they're like beautiful, really nice. Okay, so let me continue. There was a guy once upon a time named Origen, Origen. I don't remember what century he was. It was around 300 to 600 or something. Okay. No, I think he was about 100. No, Origen was earlier, about 100. He was after Yeshua went up to heaven. Origen was after that. He made a work that was called Hexapla, Hexapla, Hexapla. Now, I studied this stuff back in the 1990s into the early 2000s, but it was very, very hard to get any of this stuff. Why? Because, and I was back in America then. I had left Israel for some years. And why is it hard? Because they weren't digitizing stuff in the 90s and the 2000s. They had just begun digitizing, okay? Scanning and stuff like that. Okay. So I couldn't get my hands in this stuff. I tried finding it. Uh, I couldn't get there. I did stumble onto Sweet's Septuagint back in those years in the 1990s, but I couldn't translate hundreds of pages. I had no knowledge of Greek to enable me to just read it or anything. So it was there, but I couldn't do anything with it. Okay, no AI and stuff like that. So he took hexapla. It means six. So he wrote what the scholars call columns. He had 6 columns. So if you went to Mark chapter 3, verse 4, I don't know what it says, I'm just saying it at random, you would see 6 columns. Now, this book he wrote was 6,800 pages. 6,800 pages. Imagine putting that under your arm on Sunday at 9 o'clock in the morning and showing up with that. I don't know what the weight of this thing was, but it was probably pretty heavy, okay? I mean, I don't know if you needed a wheelbarrow, but I don't think it was that big, but it might have been like this. You know, I think it was in multiple volumes, if I recall. All right. This was the cat's meow. This was done before churchianity. This was the cat's meow of work. He took several Hebrew manuscripts that had some differences and put them in there. Now, I would have given, and I still would love to see those Hebrew manuscripts, because all we got to work with today is doctored Hebrew manuscripts. I'm sure it's doctored. From the oldest one is 900 AD. A lot of the ones that they're using are 1550 or something. I don't know. They're quite recent. Okay. And the fact that the rabbis say, "Oh, we don't have anything older than that," I don't buy that. So Origen had a great work, and I years ago was so sad that I could never access it. We couldn't. Well, what happened was this: the work was in a library in Alexandria, and it caught fire. It didn't caught fire. It was ignited arson by Muslim invaders, and they burned all these religious works, including Origen's work. And I, until this morning, always thought that Origen's work burned up. It did, but that was a copy. Origen, or Regan, whatever his name is, Origen, Origen in English. He made, could you imagine, 6,800 pages? What did it take this guy? 25 years or something? You know, he was writing at 6. He knew the Greek, he knew the Hebrew. This guy knew what he was doing. And I think he was around the year 100 AD. I would have loved to read the work or to have it. I mean, I chased all these things for years, many years ago in the latter 90s, well, the mid to the late 90s into the early, by around, maybe up till around 2003 or 4 or somewhere 5. I stopped then. I knew what was out there and that was it. Okay. And I was in the world making money, so I wasn't doing a lot of scholarly works. I started again in around 2013 with the YouTube. I started doing that again. But okay, let's go back. So I never knew until this morning that Origen had a copy of it. I think it was Caesarea or someplace, and it didn't get burned. The actual original that Origen wrote never got burned. The copy got burned. So here's the story in a condensed version. scholars in recent years would probably be in the last 20, 25 years, they have been finding about fragments left over from origin, and they also were collecting works that are old where the author was quoting what origin said. So they had access, these were from a long time ago. So they were quoting what origin said in their work. So all these little pieces and fragments and bits were put together to reassemble Origen's work, which is 2 or 3 versions of the Old Testament in Hebrew and 2 or 3 versions of Septuagint that are all old. Oh, what I now I'm saying you can get your hands on this stuff now. I didn't know that. Yep. Different scholars in recent years that have nothing to do with the church world. There are church world versions that Rafi or somebody like that has one. I don't think it's any good. It's a church thing. Why even read it? I mean, you know it's going to be biased. Okay. What they're going to do is they're going to doctor it up to make it match or line up with the King James or something, The King James had access to the names of God, and well, no, wait. They probably, well, they had the Hebrew manuscript. They just chose to blot God's name out. That's all they chose to do. And a lot of people would be offended by that, but God's name is not Lord. It's not God. It's not Supreme Leader or anything like that. It's Jehovah. Why didn't they write Jehovah? They were blotting God's name out. I know a lot of people think I'm nuts, but I'm not. Okay. Just go by the evidence. Why'd they do it? They didn't have to do it. Why'd they do it? They chose to do it. Why'd they choose to do it? Got any good reason why they would cook the books like that and leave such an important thing out? Unless maybe they wanted you to get switched over to another God, maybe, right? Huh? 2 Corinthians 11:4. They have another Jesus, they have another gospel, and they receive another spirit. 2 Corinthians 11:4. Go read it. Unless you're afraid to, and you see scriptures like that, and they're too much for you, and you get rid of this guy. He's crazy. He's a Jew. Well, let's see. Who are the other Jews? Let's say the prophets. Oh, Moses, Aaron. Who else were Jews? Well, all the apostles, maybe. Well, they all were. But we don't want the Jews. Get rid of the Jews. Okay. So there's several different works that have popped up where people were compiling this way. And I can get access to them, I found out. Logos, I can get it from Logos. So I might, maybe be able to figure out what the real Hebrew Old Testament said. I don't know yet. This is just a couple of hours old with me. I have to go research it and see. Now there's this thing, the hexapla. That's what Origin used, 6 columns. Now they have another thing they've done in recent years, say the last 30 or so years, called an octapla. Hexapla is 6. Octapla is 8. So they have an 8-column version. Now, this stuff is, is complicated to do. It's not simple stuff. All right, it's all in a foreign language. So what I do is I have to get it into cut and paste mode in my box, in my iPin. I get it in cut and paste, and then I can put it into the AI programs, and they could run it. And I could have them compare it to the Codex Sinaiticus, Codex Vaticanus, Codex Alexandria. That's another one. There's a few other codexes, maybe about 8. But the oldest is Vaticanus. But here's what happened. Like when Sweet was working with this, Vaticanus had pieces missing. Okay, because it's the oldest, so he didn't use Sinaiticus, he used the Alexandria one to fill in the missing pieces. But this guy, Sweet, was not a churchianity guy, he was a Greek scholar. And he was working for Cambridge University. And he was assembling this work for them. And he was meticulously clinging to the originals, and he didn't have the works he was using weren't using the name of God, this is where I'm getting upset. Vaticanus isn't saying Jehovah, it's saying Kurios, Lord. But if you go back to the original scraps and pieces of papyri and surviving scrolls that the Vaticanus was based on, it did say Jehovah in those, even though it was in Greek. You understand? So why did Vaticanus take it out? They wanted to blot God's name out or something. I don't know why. Or maybe they just didn't want to put it in because it wasn't Greek. And they felt if they put it in Hebrew, it would mess up the work. I don't know. Maybe that was all it was. But now it's time to try to dig deeper. And the people that have been reconstructing the hexapla, and some even go further and call it an octapla, is a fantastic thing because I could have an AI look at various versions of the Hebrew and the Greek Septuagint, the Hebrew Old Testament, and based on them, balancing that, come up with a translation in English. And that might be amazing, or we might see it and no surprise. It's just, no, it's surprise. It's much like what Sweet did. I don't know yet. Here's the difficulty. You can't really do a good Bible interpretation unless you got real doctrine, good doctrine. And these people probably don't, but I don't want to condemn them. I don't know who they are that are doing these works. So they might have their own axe to grind. They might not even be aware of it, or they might be just secular and they're doing this because it's a historical work. The Bible's like what? The most read book, right? So there you have it. And the church world definitely knows a lot of things about prophecy that they concealed in the King James. Sweet came right about the time of the King James, so. But Sweet does not cater to the King James. The two of them are not the same at all. Not at all. All right, so that's rather complicated, and I just want you to know what I'm doing here. And it might not be that I'm supposed to make a translation. Maybe I'm just supposed to be teaching you guys with this. I don't know. By the way, I forgot a piece of news. I'm not entirely dead bent on how serious this is, but it could be. It probably is. J.P. Morgan said the oil reserves in the world are 7.7 billion barrels. The world uses 100 million barrels a day, or 3 billion barrels a month. So with the 7.7, you basically have about a 70-day supply or something like that of oil. But the problem is this: the 7.7 billion barrels of oil reserves are probably spread around 20 countries. So it's saying that when you get down to about 6.8 billion barrels collectively from many different countries and many different sites, you're going to have the gunk, because in their storage tanks over the years, the sediment, the pieces of paraffin, pieces of rock, solidification, stuff like that sinks down to the bottom. And when you start going down low in the stockpiles of reserves, you're going to be getting into oil that you can't really use unless you go through elaborate processing for it. Shut up! So, I don't know how. See, these figures, they say, okay, 7.7 billion. But the figures that J.P. Morgan was saying are static figures. Oil is being pumped out of the ground every day. You understand? So I'm saying 100 billion barrels are used a day, but you can't run that 100 million barrels a day. But you can't run that against reserves because oil's being made every day. So who the heck knows? They probably got 3 or 4 months of reserves. I don't know, but you know, it's a concern. Okay, it's a concern. So basically, when Sweet wrote his Septuagint, he didn't know that the Latins, the Greek Septuagint was using the name of God. He found that after he finished it. Okay, and he did write notes to that effect, I believe. Now, let's do Malachi 3 and 4, which are very heavy prophetic scriptures. Malachi 3 shows us the temple, shows us Elijah, talks about the glory of God of Israel, the offerings coming back, and it's very, very important. And I'm going to do it with you now. Now, this is from Sweet, his Septuagint, which is a reconstruction of the Codex Vaticanus from around 300 AD, with the gaps being filled up with the Codex Alexandria, missing pieces, okay? And this guy meticulously worked on it. Okay, translated by AI with secular English, with secular Greek translation tools, nothing from any church world stuff, okay? Behold, I send out my messenger, Malachi, and he shall inspect the road before my face. So prepare the way before me is how King James puts it, but this is a little more graphic, I would think. Okay. And suddenly the master whom you seek, that word master is Adonai. It's not the same as Lord. It's pretty interesting. Adonai, it's translated as master. Whom you seek, that's the glory of God of Israel, Michael, will arrive into his own temple. Well, That's nice and clear, isn't it? So if he's going to arrive into his own temple, the temple precedes him. See, these are the things I've been teaching you, but when you got a decent translation, it's so much easier for me to teach it. Okay? So it's the Adonai whom you seek will arrive into his own temple. Even the master of the compact whom you desire. Now that is different. The master of the compact, the compact is like a covenant, a deal, and I believe this is to be Elijah because the Jews believe Elijah will teach them Torah. So that's why they're referring to him as a master of the compact. Adonai in Hebrew is a word you would use like for your employer, your boss, your landlord, or something like that. Maybe the head of surgery if you're in the hospital or something like that. Of the compact, whom you desire, behold, he is coming. Now that would reference Elijah. Says the all ruling Lord. Okay. That probably is Jehovah Elohim, but okay. Verse 2. And who will endure the day of his entrance? Who will stand firm during his appearance? Remember, John the Baptist had the spirit of Elijah, and God kept him in the wilderness for many years until his unveiling. And he was wearing a coarse coat and eating things dipped in honey. You know, he was living in the wild, you know. Who will endure the day of his entrance into the temple, or just showing up? Or who will stand firm during his appearance? That, I believe, it's the same person. It means when he shows up. For he enters like the fire of a smelting furnace, and like the alkali grass of those who wash clothes. It's a serious soap, okay? Like a lye soap, maybe, or something like that. Okay, now the cleaning out of the dirt is Elijah getting rid of the bad doctrines of the people and teaching them the truth. And I think you might understand it would be rather helpful to be doing that with an accurate version of the Bible rather than the King James or something like that, right? An NIV, you know, those things are way full of errors. He will sit smelting and purifying as one does silver and gold. He will purify the sons of Levi, the Levites basically, and pour them out like gold and silver, and they will be those who bring forward an offering to the Lord in justice. When he's talking about pouring out gold and silver, it's pouring it into a mold. So he's rebuilding or restructuring the Levites, okay? He's getting the dross out of them, and the dross is the Talmud, the Kabbalah, and the false teachings and beliefs and the traditions and all that are not in the Bible. And they will be those who bring forward an offering to the Lord in justice. Justice is meaning not breaking the law, right? Okay. Following the law, which doesn't mean Moses' law, the law. Okay. And the offering of Judah and Jerusalem will be pleasing to the Lord, just as in the days of old and just as in the years of the past. This is a very good thing, but you're not going to get the offerings with the Lord right unless the people doing the offerings are right also. You can't be going around lying and cheating and getting drunk and adultery and then just doing the offerings meticulously and expect the Lord's going to be pleased. Okay, he won't. Verse 5, and I will bring you forward in judgment. And I will be a swift witness against the sorcerers, those are any kind of witches, I guess, against the adulteresses, against those who swear falsely by my name, against those who withhold the wage of a hired laborer. So swear falsely by my name. They go to court and sue people and swear an oath and or make an oath with somebody and swear and then break it. Those who withhold the way, they rip the workers off, Against those who oppress a widow, they rip her off. Against those who strike orphans with the fist. Wow, that's not in the original stuff we're used to, the King James. Yeah, they might hire the orphans and beat them, or I don't know, but yeah, hurting them, hitting orphans. Against those who turn aside the justice due to a foreigner. The Israelites are doing these things today all the time. The justice due to a foreigner, and against those who do not fear me, that's loads of Israelis, says the all-ruling Lord. Okay. For I am the Lord your God. and I have not changed. And you, sons of Jacob, or Yaakov in Hebrew, have not held back from the injustices of your fathers. You turned aside from my customary laws and did not guard them. Return to me, and I will return to you, says all ruling Lord. And you said, in what way shall we return? Will a man supplant? Then in parenthesis it says trip up the heel of. In other words, make him trip or something. Will a man supplant or trip up the heel of God? For you are supplanting me. They're trying to trip up God. And you will say, in what way have we supplanted you? In that the tithes and the first fruit offerings are kept with you. And you surely look away. So the tithes and first fruits offerings are kept with you. It means you're not turning them over. You're not doing the offerings. Okay? The tithes and the offering you're keeping. You're not giving is what it's saying. And you surely look away in avoidance, you put in parenthesis, you surely look away, yet you are supplanting me. The year is completed, and you have brought all the produce into the storehouses, so that the plunder of it will be in his house. Inspect now in this matter, says the all-ruling Lord, if I will not open to you the floodgates of heaven and pour out my blessing upon you, and until there is abundance. This is very clear. So he's saying, just do what I tell you and you'll get a big blessing from me. But they don't have faith and they don't believe, and they think money and wealth is more important, and they retain the food. Verse 11, Malachi 3:11, and I will give orders for your food, and I will definitely not destroy the fruit of your land, and your vine, the field, will not be weak, says the all-ruling Lord. And all the nations will call you blessed, for you will be a detestable land, a detestable land, says, wait a minute, what happened here? Okay, it's moving. My iPad is ill. All right, let's get back. All right. Now I'm in verse 13. Let's see what this is. Yes. Yeah, who's this? Okay. Call me and I'll come to the door, to the gate, to the street. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Bye. It's the delivery of our supplements. That's nice. Wait a minute. Might have a prayer request or something here. No, that's just our militia local. Okay. You have made your words heavy against me, says the Lord. And you said, in what way have we spoken against you? You said, futile is one who serves God, and what advantage is it that we guarded his watches, and because we walked as supplants before the face of the all-ruling Lord. I gotta take a break for a second, guys. Give me a minute. I'll come right back. gotta see what this is. Hi, are you here? I'll come right out. Okay, bye. Come on, Mommy, come on in. Cool off, we got the air conditioning going. Have a good time. I'll see you later, I'm in the office. Oh, sorry guys. It's life in Israel. That's why I said if I do this, I want to have like somebody on the payroll that takes care of all this stuff. Not me. Okay. So I was around 13 or 14 in the verses. You said futile is the one who serves God, and what advantage is it that we guarded his watch, and because we walked as suppliants before the face of the all-ruling Lord. And now we call foreigners blessed. That's like what you see with a lot of Israelis now. Well, in Kuwait and Bahrain and Qatar, they're so rich, and look at us, you know. It's because they're disobedient, that's why. That's why it's happened. And now we call foreigners blessed, and all those who perform lawless deeds are built up, and they resisted God and yet were saved. In other words, they flourish, they don't go down. These things those who fear the Lord spoke down to one another, each to his neighbor, and the Lord gave heed and listened, and he wrote a book of remembrance before his face for those who fear the Lord and hold his name in reverence. That's the book of life. Those who fear the Lord, that's Jehovah, and hold his name in reverence. His name, his name. Lord is not his name. God is not his name. His name, Jehovah. That's what's wrong with these American translations. One of many things. They're blotting his name out. And they shall be mine, says the all-ruling Lord, for a day that I make an acquisition, and I will choose them in the manner a man chooses his own son who serves him. And you will turn back and see the distinction. This day is the day the Lord appears in the clouds, and you will turn back and see the distinction between a just person and a lawless person, and between one who serves God and the one who does not serve. That day coming real soon at the doors. Okay, now we're going to go into Malachi 4. See, it's easy to teach this with a good translation. You see how easy it is? It just flows. When I do it with the King James, I got to go look the words up, tell you what Strong says, and this, and this is so much nicer. It's the way it should be, or it's approaching it anyway. It's not quite there yet, but it's pretty. No, it could be. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Okay, for behold, a day is coming, burning like an oven, and it will scorch them, and all the foreigners and all those who perform lawless deeds will be stubble, and the coming day will ignite them, says the all-ruling Lord. Now, ignite them is burn them up. That's Zechariah 12:6. The two witnesses burn those up surrounding it. In Malachi 4, we realize here, as you'll soon see, the evil ones in Israel, the 2/3 that get cut off, they get burned up too. Coming up to, in a few seconds, a minute or two, you'll see that. Lowest these, okay, perform low, and all those who perform the lowest these shall be stubble, and the coming day will ignite them, says, burn them up, ignite. All ruling Lord, I think it probably says, Adonai Jehovah in reality, and not a root or a branch will be left behind from them. There's no remnant of them left when they're gone. You're not going to have the memory of these great rich jerks, and for who do anything to get rich, and for you who fear my name. Well, what do they fear? They fear the name, but they don't know his name. Jehovah. Who fear Jehovah, a son, or the name of Jehovah, I guess, a son of justice will rise with healing in its wings. This is not good. This is the son of right. It's Yeshua, the S-U-N, the Shemesh, arise with healing in its extremities, but it's saying it's his. The extremities are the outward borders of the robe or tunic type thing they wore, where they had the tzitzit all over the outer borders, not just 4 of them. And the woman with the issue of blood for 12 years grabbed one of his tzitzits and got healed, one of his tassels, and got healed. So when he did that, he was sort of announcing, this. Okay, because they knew the word kanaf is not wings, it's extremity, not wings, it's extremities is a better translation, but it says wings here. I don't like it. So you see, you can't just use one of these. You've got to use a few. That's why I'm going to try real hard to get my hands on the origin hexapla, or a reconstructed of one, a rebuild of it, because I'll have a few Hebrew and a few Greek structures, manuscripts in there that I could work. Okay, who fear my name, a son of justice or righteousness. Well, justice means not breaking the law. Will rise with and being fair, with healing in his extremities, and you will go out and leap like the calves released from bonds. Now that's what I've been reading to you for years, because the King James has it all obscured so you don't understand it. Go out and leap like a calf. A calf is a young cow, a baby cow, and that's how you're going to be when you get the everlasting life. You're going to be like you were when you were young. You're not going to be a 3-year-old. You'll be adult. I'm 21, 23, or you'll be around something like that, I figure. Maybe 30, I don't know. But, if you're 18, you're probably not going to look older. But anyway, leap like calves released from bonds. Okay, they're jumping around, bucking, running around. Everything feels good. Loads of energy. Okay. And you will trample down the lawless, for they will be ashes under your feet on the day. That's the day of vengeance that I make, says the all ruling Lord. I guess it's, I don't know, Jehovah. So what it's saying, I got to find out what the original Hebrew was actually calling this, or the original Latin. I'll find all this. It'll be in the origin recreation, the hexapla. I know this is hard. You're getting all these words like hexapla, octapla. Now, the modern Bible publishers that work with the churches have, in the last 60 or 70 years, released books called hexapla and octapla. Stinking liars. What they did is they used, like King James, NIV, Revised Standard, stuff like that, and made 6 columns and called it a hexapla. What a sick thing they did. You can put 6 bad translations in and make the people think they're going to get enlightened. Oh my gosh. Okay, and you will trample down the lawless, for they will be ashes under your feet on the day that I make, saith the all-ruling Lord. All right. Ashes under your feet. It doesn't say that you're going to burn them up. It says trample down the lawless, because they're ashes. You're going to walk on them. Now, the enemies of Israel in the siege in Zechariah 12 never really invaded us. They're on our borders, round about. The 2 witnesses burned them up round about in all the directions. But the ones that their ashes under your feet, the people here are in Israel. So the ashes under their feet in Israel are the wicked ones in Israel, which could be the non-Israelites, the Arabs or whoever, and it could be the sinners of any race. And if they were Arabs serving the Lord, believers, they would certainly never get burned up. Okay. Now I'm in verse 4. And behold, I send to you. Well, remember that also, fits with the tares and the wheat in Matthew 13. The tares is tied up in bundles to be burned. Well, they get burned, It's the tares, 2 are working in the field, 1 gets taken and the other doesn't, and they're grinding in the mill, 1 gets taken, 1 doesn't. 2 in 1 bed, okay? These are, the the bad ones, they don't have to be false believers. They're just not believers, I guess. Or they're bad too. But okay, it's not the believers. And behold, I send you Elijah the Tishbite. And I told you that the reason he's telling you the Tishbite is because he doesn't want you to think that this is Elijah, the spirit of Elijah. Elisha got the spirit of Elijah in a double portion when he went up to heaven, when the company car came, the chariot, and he went up in a whirlwind, and he threw the mantle down as a sign. He had a double portion and did twice the amount of recorded miracles. And then a long time into the future, John the Baptist had the spirit of Elijah. But this is to let you know, of course, Elijah has the spirit of Elijah. He is Elijah. But this Elijah the Tishbite is letting you know this is exactly Elijah. Okay, he came to earth, and he was here. You can read about him in Kings, right? And then he went up in the world, went to heaven, so he never died. So it's elected unto man to die only once. So he comes back and dies. Moses can't be one of the two witnesses, although he did appear on the Mount of Transfiguration. Moses died. We can read it in the Bible. He died. And, okay, so who else didn't die? Enoch. So he's back too as one of the witnesses, because it's the two of them that never died yet, and then they'll die, and then they go up to heaven. Okay, so that'll fulfill. And then it says, Elijah's here to restore all things. And then, he restores himself, and he goes up to heaven, and so does Enoch. That's where they belong. They're not really supposed to spend lots and lots of time on earth. They have their little ministries they did in earth, but they're these are God's sons. It says that in Zechariah 4, the last verse, standing by the Lord of the whole earth. It says these are the sons of oil, of the clarified oil, the pure oil. Oil doesn't have sons. These are the sons of God. The oil means anointed. These are the anointed sons of God standing by the Lord of the whole earth. Okay, so that's a heavenly picture. So these sons, and remember in Job 1, verse 6, it says the sons of God came to see Jehovah, and Satan came with him. So he has more than one son, Job 1:6. Yeshua is the only begotten son. He was the only one that was made from a woman and the Holy Spirit, begotten that way. The word for Yeshua, HaMashiach, Mashiach is Christos, is Christ. It means anointed. So when you go back to Zechariah 4, it says the B'ni, the sons of the clarified oil, it's anointed sons. Okay. Elijah the Tishbite, before the great and manifest day of the Lord comes. That's your Gog and Magog, Ezekiel 38:39, Zechariah 14, Ezekiel 8-11. Who will restore the heart of a father to a son, and the heart of a man to his neighbor? Look at that. That ain't the King James. Wow. And the heart of a man to his neighbor, lest I come and strike the earth utterly. So this is when we have everlasting life, we have a heart of flesh, and he puts the law in our inner parts. That's what this is. They shall all know me from the least to the greatest. This Jeremiah 31. That's what this is. Verse 6. Remember the law of Moses my servant, just as I commanded him in Horeb for all Israel, even ordinances and judicial requirements. Now, remember, this is going back way before Yeshua, a few hundred years. I think 300 or 400 years before Yeshua came to Israel. He came to earth, but he really came to Israel. Ha ha ha. Okay, Zechariah 14. From Sweet, Septuagint, verse 1. Behold, now this is dealing more of the great day of the Lord, okay? Behold, that's what this is dealing with. Days are coming for the Lord, and your spoils will be divided within you, and I will gather all nations against you, against Jerusalem for war, and the city will be captured, and the houses will be plundered, and the women will be defiled, and half of the city will go out into captivity, but the remnant of my people will definitely not be utterly destroyed from the city. Well, we have to do Ezekiel 8 to 11. The Lord puts a mark, which is probably his name, on the foreheads of those who are upset about the great falling away in Israel and what's going on. And they don't get harmed. So they stay in Jerusalem when this attack comes. They don't have to leave. Nothing happens to them. You find that in Ezekiel chapter 9. But the remnant of my people will definitely not be utterly destroyed from the city. And the Lord will go out and array himself against those nations. You're going to array, he's going to put himself up against those nations. No, that's doom and gloom on the nations. It's goyim is the word, the heathen. And as a day of his arraying himself in a day of battle. And his feet will stand that day on the Mount of Olives. This is the Gloria God of Israel, who the Lord put his name in, Jehovah, so he can receive the offerings and things like that in the temple area. So his feet will stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives, which is opposite Jerusalem from the east, and the Mount of Olives will be split, half of it towards the east and the sea, and a very vast chasm and that's the glory of God of Israel. That's not Yeshua. And the Mount of Olives will be split, half of it towards the east, and the sea, very vast chasm, and half of the mountain, that's the Mount of Olives, will be towards the north, and half of it towards the south. And the And the ravine of my mountain will be blocked up, and the raving of the mountain, the ravine of the mountain, will be joined fast as far as Asod. Lasod is naming a place, and it will be blocked up just as it was blocked up in the days of the earthquake, in the days of Ozias, king of Judah, and uh, the Lord my God, I guess it's Yehovah Elohim or something, or it just says the Lord my God will arrive, and all the consecrated ones with him. Now that's not all the saints rising from the dead or any of this stuff. This is the holy ones, the angels are coming with him, and it will be in that day there. Oh, this iPad chunky thing. Okay, let's find my place. All right, I think I got it. This thing, I gotta check where I'm at. Hold on. Okay, now I go. Now I gotta find my verse. Okay, so now I'm in verse 5. And it will be in that day there will be no light but cold and frost. Well, that's not the King James. It will be, I think it's better than the King James. It will be for one continuous day, and that day is known to Jehovah. No, yeah, to Jehovah, and it is not day and not night. And toward evening there will be light. So it's like not day and not night, it's in between. That's the beginning of Sabbath, by the way, when it's that. When the shadows are long, but it's not day and it's not night. You know, that's the mixing. That's the time the Sabbath. That's when the day ends and you go into the next day. And in that day, well, this is taking us into the millennium now. This is the day that takes us to the millennium. This is when the sun goes dark, the moon goes dark, and the stars fall and don't give their light. And in that day, living water will go out from Jerusalem, half of it into the first sea, the eastern sea, and half of it into the last sea and the western sea. I don't know. I guess maybe he's talking the Dead Sea and the Sea of Galilee. And it will be both in summer and in spring. And the Lord will be king over all the earth in that day. The Lord will be one, and his name one. So he's going to be king over all the earth in that day. That's Yeshua. The Lord will be one, and his name one. The only thing I can think of about that is they're in agreement. they're in perfect agreement. That's the only thing I could come up with that. The Father and the Son, you know, Jehovah and Yeshua, encircling all the earth and the wilderness from Gabe to Ramon, to the south of Jerusalem and Ramah will remain in its place from the gate of Benjamin on to the place of the first gate unto the gate of the corners and into the tower of Hanaleel as far as the wine vats of the king. There will dwell, oh no, it moved again. And Judah, what? No, I'm jumped ahead. Hold on. And Jerusalem will dwell trustingly. So it's going to be trusting in the Lord, safe and all that. And this will be the downfall with which the Lord will strike down all the peoples who campaigned against Jerusalem. Their flesh will rot away while they are standing upon their feet, and their eyes will flow out from their sockets. That's a little different. And their tongues will rot inside their mouth. Now that's not Zechariah 12. Oh, this junky thing jumped again. Gosh. And it will be in that day a vast panic from the Lord will be upon them. And they will each seize the hand of his neighbor, and his hand will be locked fast against the hand of his neighbor. Well, and Judah will draw up ranks in Jerusalem and will collect the strength of all the surrounding people, gold and silver and clothing, in a very great abundance, more riches. And such will be the downfall of the horses and the mules and the camels and those encampments according to this downfall. And it will be that as many as are left behind out of the nations, the heathen nations, the Goyim, that came against Jerusalem, will go up year by year to do homage to the king the all-ruling Lord, and to celebrate the festival of the pitching of tents. That's Feast of Tabernacles. 17. And it will be that as many as go not, wait a minute, as many as do not go up from all the tribes of the earth unto Jerusalem to do homage to the King, the all-ruling Lord, the all-ruling Lord, even uh, these will be added to those sharing the same fate in parenthesis. And if the tribe of Egypt does not go up nor come, then upon them will be the downfall with which the Lord will strike all the nations, as many as do not go up to celebrate the festival of the pitching of tents. So obviously there's a law there. It's not Moses' law, but there's a law. This will be the offense of Egypt and the offense of the nations. As many as do not go up to celebrate the festival of the pitching of tents, in that day, that which is upon the bridle of the horse will be consecrated to the all ruling Lord, and the cooking pots in the house of the Lord, that's your temple, will be like the shallow bowls before the face of the altar. So there's an altar, there's a temple, there's offerings, observing the Feast of Tabernacle and so forth. And every cooking pot in Jerusalem and in Judah will be consecrated to the get this right here. Consecrated. No. And all those who sacrifice will arrive and take from them and boil. No. Wait a second. I'm getting ahead. Okay, the cooking pots in the house of the Lord will be like the shallow bowls before the face of the altar, ruling the altar, and then it says, ruling Lord, and all those who sacrifice will arrive and take from them and boil the meat in them, and there will no longer be a Canaanite in the house of no longer be a Canaanite in the house of the all-ruling Lord that day. Okay. Wow. I think I could try this next chapter, Ezekiel 43, which is the return of the Lord. Well, the coming, this is the glory of God of Israel going into the temple. But let me take a look at the live stream first and see if I'm getting questions or prayer requests or anything of that nature. I'm going to get my magnifying glass because I can't read this stupid thing. I make the text idiotic. For my eyes, anyway. Okay. So I don't want to omit doing a prayer request or something. No, I'm not seeing anything. This kind of knocks me out because I got up at 4:30 and I was working on these manuscripts and getting ready, and but we'll see. We can get through it. I think we can get through it. Or actually, I got to get through it. So. Okay, here we go. Verse 1. And he led me to the gate that looks towards the east, and he brought me out, and behold, the splendor of the God of Israel. That was the glory, the kabod in Hebrew, the glory of God of Israel. That's Michael, the angel, the high angel, the highest, was coming along the way from the east, and the sound of the encampment was like the sound of many doubling, reverberating echoes, and the earth was shining like a light from the splendor, the glory round about. Arise, shine, your light has come, the glory of the Lord has risen upon thee. It's this. This is probably going to happen at redemption. Okay, but the temple comes there because remember Malachi 3, he comes suddenly to his temple. Verse 3. And the vision which I saw was according to the vision which I saw when I was entering to anoint the city, even the vision of the chariot which I saw by the river Kabar, and I fell upon my face. He saw these visions. You could read them in Ezekiel chapters 1 and 2 in Babylon. And the splendor of the glory of the Lord entered into the house. That's the temple. He's calling it a bite or a house in Hebrew, a house in English rather, because he lives there, he stays there. Now, he previously didn't live in the tabernacle, it was a portable place, but he met Moses and Aaron there. And then with Solomon's temple, he didn't stay in there or live there. He entered it to anoint it with the glory cloud, but then he left. He never did that with Zerubbabel's temple. He never did that with Herod's temple. This temple is a house. He lives there, and you'll see. And the glory of the Lord entered into the house along the way of the gate that looks towards the east, and a spirit that's towards the Mount of Olives, and a spirit took me up and led me into the inner courtyard, and behold, the house was full of the splendor of the Lord, the glory of the Lord. And I stood, and behold, there was a voice out of the house. So he went in the house, and their voice came out of the house, speaking to me, and the man stood close alongside me, and he said to me, "You have seen, Son of Man, the place of my throne," and that's where he's going to be enthroned, and the place of the footprint of my feet, okay, in which, that's a way of saying he's going to be there. It's his house, it's his joint, it's his place, it's his crib. I'm putting it in street talk, okay, in which my name will, I mean, it's being sarcastic about it, I'm not insulting anything, forgive me, Lord, B'Shem Yeshua Mashiach, it's his house, in a way, it's a holy sanctified house, it's a house of prayer, and okay, but let's keep going. Will encamp in the midst of the house, which my name will encamp. You see, the name Jehovah, very important. You can't have scripture books, Bibles that don't have the name, okay? The house of, encamp in the midst of the house of Israel forever. Okay, let's read this again. Footprint of my feet in which my name will encamp. He has the name Jehovah, this angel, in him. That's in Exodus 20, verse 23, or it's Exodus 23, verse 20. I keep forgetting. I got to look it up again and stop doing that, but it's one of the two. And the place of the footprint of my feet in which my name will encamp in the midst of the house of Israel forever. He ain't leaving. When New Jerusalem time comes, he transfers from the temple into New Jerusalem, and this is the beginning of the second 70 years of Daniel 9:24, and the house of Israel will. It doesn't say 70 weeks, it says 70. This is the second 70-year period. Okay. The house of Israel will no longer, unless it's a 70 something different, but I believe it's years, because it says 70. So the first one would have been 70 years. It would be either the Babylonian captivity, or it would be more likely Yeshua was born in year 0, and the destruction of Jerusalem and the temple was 70 years. And the house of Israel will no longer defile my consecrated name. There's the name again. They and their leaders, by their prostitution, I think spiritual prostitution, and by the murders committed by their leaders in their midst. When they placed their own threshold right against my threshold, and their own doorposts right beside my doorpost, and they made my wall as though it were shared between me and them, and they defiled my consecrated name by their lawless deeds which they were performing, so I consumed them in my anger and in slaughter. And now let them thrust away their prostitution and the murders committed by their leaders for far from me, and I will encamp in their midst forever. And you, Son of Man, show the house to the house of Israel, and they shall cease from their errors. Show also its visual form and its arrangement. And they themselves will receive their punishment for all that they have done, and you shall draft I lost this. Hold on a second. Where did it go? Well, I'll just go 10. They shall cease from their error. What? I will encamp in their midst forever. Okay, verse 10. And you, Son of Man, show the house to. See, he calls Ezekiel Son of Man. He calls Yeshua Son of Man. Did you ever think Ezekiel just might maybe be one of God's sons? Show the house to the house of Israel, and they shall cease from their errors. Show also the visual form and its arrangement. And they themselves will receive their punishment for all they have done, and you shall sketch out the house, its exits, its structural layout, and its ordinances, and you shall make known all its customary laws to them, and shall sketch it out right before them, so that they may guard all my judicial requirements and all my ordinances and execute them. Okay. There's laws to this house, the next house. Laws, rules, practices, how you go in, how you go out, all different things, what doors open, what door to use, this and that. Okay? But they're never given, make the door this high, this wide, this thick, of this material, make the floor of this material, make the wall of this material. No, no, no. This temple comes down from heaven. The Jews don't build it. The Israelites don't build it. But he gives them enough identifiers to understand when the temple comes, they'll be able to orient themselves to where everything is, and the people will go in on Shabbat. If you read Ezekiel 45, you'll know that, and so forth. Now, the temple is discussed from Ezekiel 40 to 48, basically, okay? It's not in every verse per se, but now, there's people that say there's not going to be another temple. It's just an allegory. It's a spiritual depiction. Well, I've never heard any of them be able to explain that. Well, tell me, what does it mean? Oh, I don't know. Yeah. Great idea. And this is the ground plan of the house upon the summit of the mountain. Well, that's Mount Zion, which will be coming back again. And that's probably going to get rid of the Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque. All its boundaries roundabout shall be a consecrated place of consecrated places. Okay. And these are the dimensions of it in cubits, being a standard cubit, a hand breadth, a base hollow, of depth of 1 cubit and 1 cubit width, and a rim along its edge, roundabout of a span, half cubit, and this is the height of the altar. A cubit is basically from here to here. So my cubit's going to be different than somebody else's cubit. My understanding of this is it's 1,500 miles long, 1,500 miles wide, and 1,500 miles high. So we have never seen anything like that. It's as high as a country, as a big country. Okay. And these are the dimensions of the altar in cubits. Now we build this brazen altar. That we're going to build. That stays outside the temple, in the inner courtyard. Each cubit, being a standard cubit, has a hand breadth, a base hollow of depth, 1 cubit and 1 cubit in width, and it's along its edge roundabout of a span. This thing got me messed up again. I gotta find my place. iPad dilemma. Roundabout of a span, half cubit, and this is the height of the altar. From the base of the start of the hollow onto the great ledge below, it's 2 cubits, and the width is 1 cubit, and it's giving us all the dimensions to build the altar, but we don't get dimensions like that. How big the door is, how high the ceiling is, how big the room is, what the materials are to use it, how many handles on the door, double door, 1 door. None of this is given to us. What kind of wood to use in it? Nothing. We don't build a temple. And the altar earth is your cubit, and from the altar earth, it's Hearth. Heel. And extending upward, the horns are 1 cubit, and the altar earth 12 cubits, in length and 12 cubits in width, a square upon its four sides, and the and the propylatory ledge is 14 cubit. Well, I'm going to start skipping ahead on this because I'm not going to go through all the dimensions. We'll do that when it's time to build it. And the steps forward to the east. And Son of man, thus says the Lord God of Israel, these are the ordinances of the altar on the day of the manufacture for bringing forward whole burnt offerings upon it, and for pouring out blood against it. And you shall give to the wait a second. The ordinances of the altar of the day of its manufacture for during offerings upon and for pouring out blood against it. So the blood offerings and all this stuff, the sacrifices, offerings, obviously shall be continuing. And you shall give to the Levitical priests who are from the seed of Zadok, those who draw near to me, says Adonai Yehovah, to perform public service for me, a young bull from the herd, as a sin offering. And they shall take from its what? BPLACE? From, I don't know, maybe it's placed with a typo. It upon the place it, okay, upon the four horns of the altar, and upon the four corners of the propitiatory ledge, whatever that means, and upon the base found without, and they shall make expiation for it. They shall take the young bull for the sin offering. Now, why is there a sin offering when Yeshua did it? Because Yeshua did it for the age of grace, when there was no temple, no priesthood, nobody could follow the law. So now it's back, and we have to be in compliance and follow it. Yeshua, did not yet return to earth. When he comes down with New Jerusalem, then the offerings stop, because he is the high priest in the order of Melchizedek, but he's not here. Okay. Melchizedek is not here, but he was a high priest, so why would the offerings not set aside when Melchizedek's not here? You got to learn to think like that, and don't let them trip you up because they try to fool you. Designed a designated separated area of the house outside the consecrated place. That's the holiest of holies. And the second day they shall take 2 unblemished male kids, goats, as a sin offering. It's an 8-day purification. Shall make expiation for the altar, just as they made expiation with the young bull. It takes 8 days to do this, to cleanse it. And after you have completed making the expiation, they shall bring forward an unblemished young bull from the herd, and an unblemished ram from the flock, and you shall bring them forward before the Lord, and the priest shall throw salt upon them. That's for the salt covenant. But that's for the offerings, the food that gets offered to the Lord on the altar, the animals. It's not for us. You don't have to do the salt. Oh, this thing jumped on me again. I am so sick of this. Sick of it. All right. I gotta find my place again. Stinking iPad. All right. It says, for 7 days you will prepare a male kid as a sin offering each day, and they shall prepare a young bull from the herd and a ram from the flock. They shall prepare them unblemished. There's a guy coming over here to work. Some problem with our water in the shower. Let me see if this is him. It's my wife. I don't know what she said. I'll do that later. All right. So I'm not going to go through all this cleansing of the altar. Verse 27, and it shall be that from the 8th day and beyond, the priest shall offer upon the altar your whole burnt offering and your offerings of deliverance, and will accept, and I will accept you. He accepts us in Israel. That's the truth. All right. I'm going to take a fast break and we'll discuss these things. it's a really rough concept to convey to people that are not yet come out of the church, that it's going to be another temple, let alone it's going to come down from heaven. And you have to read the last 3 verses of Ezekiel 37, where it said he places the temple here in our midst, along with Ezekiel 43. And actually you have to read Ezekiel, let's say 40 to 43. And you realize we don't get enough information to build the temple, not even close. Because we're not supposed to build it. And it's going to look like it came down from heaven. And Elijah and Enoch came down from heaven, you know, so what's the big deal? Okay? And why does the church preach no temple? Because if they let on that there was going to be a temple, then comes the Levites and the Kohanim, the priests, descendants of Aaron, and the Zadokites, the Kohanim that were with Zadok, that did the good things. And that's not the church. They're not of this. So they don't have a part in it. Well, they don't want that. The original books were not in Greek, they were in Hebrew. But we can't get our hands on them. I believe the New Testament was in Hebrew too. I'm rather, very, very certain. But people that hate God and don't want God's people to ever reign over the nations, over the heathen nations, got rid of these things over time. Mommy? 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 So, this is a big problem. Okay? Big problem. So what I'm trying to do is get us as close as possible to what the text really said. And these Origen, whatever his name is, I forgot what his name. I'm tired. I've been working since 4:30 this morning, and it's almost 10 o'clock, so I'm kind of had it already. Now, I think if I was 25 years old, I'd be burned out now too, because it's from here to here you get burned out. Okay, so Origen, that's the guy, I believe. He did the Hebrew and the Greek, lined them up next to each other, different sources of Greek and Hebrew, and you could look at the Old Testament that way, and I gotta get there. And I'm dropping money all over the place to get this. Hint, hint. So, I get it, and then I could immediately, or within a few hours, teach you from it. But getting it all transferred and making an app is going to take a lot of work. The only thing I figure I could do myself, and maybe I should do this, ask the Lord to show me if I should or I shouldn't. I could do the important prophetic passages, but I don't like doing things like that. And it doesn't sound like the Lord. So it's a job, you know. Um, if He wants me to do it, I don't believe I'm capable of doing it myself in my present condition whatsoever. There's just a lot of work. And it would take years. So I don't think I'm supposed to do that. Maybe I'm just supposed to teach out of it, and when the time comes, He'll give us the right work, but I'm not so sure that's the case unless Apostle John has the book with him. The Old Testament, he might have one. I don't know. If he could be preserved all these years, so can the books. So I don't know. He says he'll put the law in our hearts, right? That doesn't mean he's going to put the whole Bible in our hearts, but I don't know. I don't think so. But I don't see the Lord, preaching the word with signs following. Signs follow the word, but if you're preaching a garbage translation, I don't think the signs are going to follow. Especially translations that were meant to cover things up and confuse people and lead them astray. No, I don't know anything about translations done in French or German or Africanese or Mandarin or Jap. I don't know anything about these things. Are they any good? I don't know. What is my hunch? No, nobody. Do I think the true gospel's been preached by these people over the centuries? No. I think they preached the lousy version of it. The apostles had trouble with false believers back then. They impersonate following Yeshua, suck people in, and lead them astray. And they try to suck in the babes because they're not going to get somebody that's, been 12 or 15 years with the word, with a good version of the word, if they could have one, and, strong in the Lord, they wouldn't get anywhere. The person might not have the word correct, but because they don't know how to source anything like this, most people wouldn't. 99.99% of the people wouldn't. But the person has the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit would lead them away from these wolves in sheep's clothing. Once you get the translations done and you've reviewed them and you're satisfied with them and made sure the holy names are in there and all that, then you could have them compiled by AI into a app that's searchable in, it would take, I don't know, under a half hour. It might take under a quarter of an hour. And then it could be distributed by email or download. And you'd have the Bible in your language. But for me to do that myself is a monumental job. You got to understand. I got to take all the pages of the Bible and get them into AI and then read them. And correct them with the holy name predominantly. Let me just try to give you a little bit of an idea what some of this stuff looks like so you get a feel for how difficult it can get. I don't know if I can make this bigger, but this is sweet in the Greek. Let me go back and show you something else. Sweet's in 3 volumes. One book has the Prophets, which is mostly what I'm looking for. Another book has like Enoch. Sweet actually did Enoch, the Book of Enoch. That might be fun to play with to see what the Book of Enoch really says. I gotta figure this out for a minute. Now you get into more advanced works. This is actually the Book of Enoch. See what I'm dealing with here? Okay. Origin's hexapla is not that bad. This isn't that. But this is bad enough. I mean, it's some of these works are, you know, they're pretty thick. Now I have AI to cut through that. I don't have to, and it goes through it in seconds. If I want to poke around and see what's going on, I have to go rather pretty slow with it. It's a lot of material and so I'm going to be able to get my hands on the hexapla and probably the 8th version octapla. I don't know what it's going to cost yet. I don't think it's going to be a lot of money. I think $50 or $100, but it adds up, And see, these are books that the church people, 99.99999% of them don't even know. They don't know about them, or they might have heard of them, but they never read them. They don't know what to do with them. The only ones that are really aware of this are the serious researchers. I would be one. that are going to go in and dig and dig and dig. I'm not one of the researchers that's going to write the manuscript because I don't have the money, the ability to travel anymore. I can't do that, I don't like sitting there and saying, "Oh, you need money, you need money." And I'm not trying to get money from you to do the Bible because you couldn't fund it. It's just too much. But to really do it right, you got to remember, I'm not looking at just Hebrew, just English. I'm looking at about 12, 15 languages. Now, I literally could just go to AI and say, take this English, put it in Chinese and Cantonese, and add it into the app, searchable. And it might take 15 minutes and I'd have it. But I don't know what happened. How good, I need somebody that speaks Cantonese, that like grew up in a house where they taught Cantonese. Maybe they spoke English or Hebrew or something at the same time, but they really know Cantonese and see what it looks like. I got to be careful with this. I can't turn out a piece of junk. I'm working for the Lord. I can't turn garbage out. I got to try hard. I'm just, a human body. There's a limit what I'm going to be able to do, but I got to apply myself fully. So I need to know from the Lord if I'm really supposed to do this, because where's all the help coming for me to do it? I need a lot of equipment. I need people to help me do it. I need people to, I could train them what to look for. And they could do reviews, proofreading what it says and then getting an amendment, and then we got to do compilation. We got to put them together in a book somewhere. Got to make sure AI has it all, so we got to put it in a file, probably good, maybe on a zip drive or something, so it's all in there. And we keep adding the books to it, and then I don't know, a zip drive wouldn't work getting into AI. I got to figure out how to get it into AI and build a big file in the. How the heck do you get it into AI? I don't know of any way other than to cut and paste it or snapshot it. Yeah, it's guys. The more I think about it, it's really complicated. With 3 or 4 people, could I do it? Well, it would be easier to do one language maybe or something, but not that great. So please pray that I get some insight as to what he wants me to do. I'm praying, and he's not discouraging me, and I keep finding more and more manuscripts to work with that are good. Sweet's pretty darn good. If I took Sweets and I put the holy names in, I wouldn't be doing too bad. I wouldn't. So I hope you like the ease of these translations. When you're dealing with King James, it's so hard to make everything work. You've got to have a wrestling match with it, and you've got to go to Strong's and look the words up from the Hebrew and tell them what they really mean, and show the people that the English translation is missing the boat, and in how many places? Oh, probably at least 300, maybe 500. Are the more modern translations better? The more modern translations are horrific because they stopped using the good manuscript for the New Testament, and they use some garbage manuscripts that were found in church garbage cans and nonsense like that. Just stupid things. And they tell you they're older than the other manuscripts, and I don't believe anything like that. So they're worse. The American Standard has some translation decency in places, but other places not. But I just going through a few chapters of the Bible today, you saw how important it is that you have His name and you can't blot it out. And Sweet is blotting it out. Maybe out of innocence, very likely out of innocence, but still it's blocked out. It's no good. That's an easy fix, but could I do better? Could I make this better if I'm looking at a real Greek Septuagint and, restored and the Hebrew, not the stuff the rabbis want us to read today, but the real old Hebrew. And I use both of them to concoct the translation. Is that perhaps going to be better? I think it would be twice as good, if not 3 times as good. Probably twice as good. And it would be real easy to get AI to do the holy names, because the Hebrew from origins, hexapla or octapla, will have the holy names in there. So I'm trying to bring this together. And I never thought I'd be doing that. Maybe I did. I knew we need to have a translation. And I believe there's going to be a Bible training site, likely in the Galilee, that's going to have the translations there for the people to pick up, here. Like we don't sell it. You ask for one here. And if they make offerings, they make offerings. If they don't make offerings, they don't make offerings. What else is this place going to do? It's going to teach them things. Like what kind of things? Like teach them the laws and rules of the next temple before they go visit it. I believe there'll be a sign, like, to go visit the learning site, which I think is going to be in the Galilee, before they go to the temple. But there's other things like how to do a Shabbat. Shabbat will be back. I don't know how diligent how we're going to be observing. It doesn't really tell us, but it shows us people going to the temple on Shabbat. And we'd have to teach them other things, what you're supposed to do and not supposed to do. Okay? And can this be made into something like an amusement park? To teach stories, not stories, to teach Bible graphically, like Disney teaches Mickey Mouse and the witches and, all the junk they do. Hulk, like Universal Studios has Hulk and, Ding Dong, the witch is dead. They got one of those, I mean, instead of that, using rides to teach trash, can you use rides to teach really good things that would imprint on kids and regular people, like a really cool Moses crossing the Red Sea ride, where they get through and then the water comes back. It could be done. It could be done. I don't believe in doing, death-defying rides like roller coasters and things like that where people, you know, that's trying God. I don't go for any of that. I don't think having water slides with people in bikinis and thongs and that's not on the agenda. So I don't see the purpose of water slides necessarily. Um, I mean, I think if you had little kids and you want to make a water amusement park for them, and you have little fountains and water squirting and stuff like that, and they'd have a plenty good time. You know, you don't have to teach them death defying. You know, okay. What other things? Well, pick your Bible theme and do a Samson where it pushes the pillars down and you know um, there's all sorts of things you could do, and you could have um, if you're gonna have people in the ride, they could be dressed up for the era. This would be, and you would have like a hotel there, and you couldn't really charge for any of this. You'd have to let it, you know, you're basically feeding them for free, giving them a hotel for free, and letting them go on the rides for free. And that's that, because you can't sell the stuff. But do you think they would leave offerings? Oh gosh, yes, yes. People are going to come from all over the world to see the temple. The ones that are still left, they're going to come from all over the world. Okay? And you don't want to just turn them loose. So you have a facility they go to, maybe they stay a week or something. Now, I don't know how big it'll be, and I don't know. I mean, I'm just thinking here, you know. But the Lord showed me this about 1984. It was a while ago. And translations was a part of it. So if you have Apostle John, Enoch, Elijah hanging around at this place, maybe not all of them there at the same time, but people are going to want to go there just for that. And they could do Bible studies. They're not going to do, probably 3 hour jobs, but they could. Probably an hour. I don't know. I don't know what to, Um, this would probably be something that comes about after redemption, after the appearing of the Lord, redemption, and um, probably would say its timing is going to meet the next Exodus, because they too will want something like this, because they too will want to go to the temple. So, what am I looking at? I'm looking at something like the size of a Disney World, I guess. See, I think this way, and then people probably look at me, and I look at myself this way. Why am I doing that? Well, you got a lot of people to reach. That's why I'm saying you need about 12, 15 languages in a translation. Maybe you need 20. I don't know much about African languages, but that's important. South America is easy. You basically got Spanish and a drop of Portuguese, and you got it in Brazil, and you got it in Portugal, and that's probably about it. Um, okay, I'm going to do a prayer for us. My Heavenly Father Jehovah, I pray for me and my wife and all the true believers in our households for strength, stamina, and endurance, and your healing and recuperative power to flow through us and keep healing what needs to be healed. And I pray for our animals and pets and ourselves to be safe, secure, and happy, healthy, and whole. I pray for the peace of Jerusalem. I pray for those of us that need a place to live, that we find a place to live and get a good place to live. Those of us that need a job, we get a good job. Those of us that need clients and customers for our business and pursuits or self-employment, we find that also. And I pray we have adequate money and then some extra. And I pray that I find my way through this creating the translation, and I get the right tools and computers and manuscripts and people to help me. And I pray for us to have more faith and wisdom, all of us. And I pray for us to know the Bible better, and I pray that I can do better with the translations and I can make better videos. And I submit all this to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua Mashiach. And you believers can agree with this, even if it's a video, not a live stream. And now I'll do something a little different, spiritual warfare. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I loose from me and my wife, all the true believers and our families and households, that if there's any unclean spirits in any of these people, they come out of these people immediately, never to return unto them again, ever, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And if there's any witchcraft or sorcery directed at any of these people, it is cast null and void for all time, no effect forever, shall never return in its form or anything close to its form for all time. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with that. So keep praying for me. I also need strength, stamina, and endurance to get through this, because right now I'm kind of knocked out. So later in the afternoon, I'll probably bounce back and I'll try to do some more work and track down the manuscript. I could probably do that this morning. So it's rough, you know. It's rough. And pray also that I get through the welfare system. I'm still trying to go through the private and public welfare system. I go through that. And that's it. So I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach, and I'm out. And praying for healing for me would be good too. I would appreciate that. One of our people that we were praying for that was very ill went into a hospice, and I'm not hearing from this person anymore. So that's very troubling. I don't like that, but it could have it happened, I suppose. And that's the kind of stuff that happens in life. So what are you gonna do? We can't do anything. So this was a long one. I'm out. Thanks, guys.